Adventure in Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
Wake up, America! It's time for the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY.com, West Palm Beach's #1 internet radio station. Here's your host, the Pipeman.
This is Pipeman here on the Adventures of Pipeman W4CY Radio, and I'm here with
Shane Told from Silverstein.
Here at Riotfest.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
It's great. We got a very loud band behind us, but it's the Breeders, so I'm not that mad. I love the Breeders, man. This is like throwback to my youth in the 90s, you know?
And it'll be the background music for your interview.
That's cool.
I love it. How much do you love Riotfest, though?
I think it's one of, if not the best festival in the world, and we have done all the big ones.
Yep.
It is awesome. People come from all over for this thing. They do such a great job, and I think for me, musically, it's like it hits me where I need to be hit. You know, I love punk and rock and alternative and hardcore, so this works. You know, like this isn't one of the festivals that's like, oh, it's a big rock festival, and then there's like a stage that has a bunch of like electronic music or something. Like they don't really do that here. And for me, that's what I like, because I grew up with punk rock and 90s stuff, and that's what I love.
Yeah, I definitely dig the vibe here, and I know what you're saying, because I do coverage at a lot of festivals, and it is weird, like one I was doing last week that I won't talk about, but it's like they had hip-hop, like a lot of it. Like you usually have like one hip-hop band, but they had like a whole lot of it. All these metalheads sitting there dancing the hip-hop while Slipknot's playing on stage. And I'm like scratching my head a little bit, but it's cool to blend the genres, but I like the community vibe where it's all the same.
Exactly. Don't get me wrong. Like I have no problem with diversity and different lineups and stuff, but I think Riotfest just does what I want. If I was paying money to be here, which I would if I wasn't playing, I would definitely be buying a ticket first in line. But it'd just be what I want. It's like I don't want to go to a festival and like only care about half the bands. That's just my personal opinion. But they do an amazing job here, and it's fun. Great setup too. Like they still have huge stages, but everything's pretty compact.
Yeah.
And it's great.
My photographer and I were talking about that walking in today. It's like, it's so nice to come in on the first day and know exactly where the media tent is. Because every other festival, every year, it's like, okay, I got to search for a media tent. And you ask everybody, nobody knows where it is.
I know, right? I know.
So it's cool to come back and know, okay, this is here, and it's like all exactly the way you remember it.
100%. No, I know. It's they do a great job here, just through and through.
Is there a band playing here at Riotfest that you guys have not played with? Like anywhere else?
Oh man,
that's a hard question.
No, probably a lot though. I mean, if I really went through, there's bands I've never heard of, and that's great. I love that they're giving some fresh blood. There's a band that played right before us called The Rex.
Oh yeah,
never heard of them. They were awesome. So it's like I think it's important. There's like great bands in punk rock and other styles of music that are killing it, and are newer bands that maybe I'm not that familiar with, and I think that's awesome. Like let's keep it fresh, but of course, like we got the Foo Fighters.
Right.
Turnstile is a band making huge waves in the last few years. Say Anything, a band I absolutely love too. Kind of boom, back to back to back to close out tonight.
I know, right?
That's just the first day. So, all the other stuff happening here, it's
I can't wait for
beautiful.
Mr. Bungle.
That's
good.
I've been seeing footage of on like Instagram and stuff of people recording, because they're on tour right now, doing some stuff leading up to it, and it's going to be a trip, dude.
Totally.
Dude, Mike Patton, oh my God, what a guy. Legend. amazing.
Unbelievable, and it's like I'm from the 80s of the whole thrash metal scene.
Yeah.
And like that's one thing I love about Riotfest too. When I was in the 80s, I loved punk. I couldn't go to a punk show. Why? Because I had long hair. It was fucking stupid.
It's crazy, right?
And they couldn't come to our shows. It was like, are you fucking kidding me? We're both the groups that are getting our asses kicked by the jocks in school. We should have teamed up together instead of fighting each other. It's like, let's all be together.
It's crazy because, like, I hear about that stuff. You grew up in Chicago?
Actually, I moved to L.A. in the 80s, so
Okay,
I
well,
was
that makes
there
sense.
for that whole scene.
Yeah.
I was
That's
at Metallica's first show ever, Slayer's first show
Wow.
ever, Motley Crue, one of their first shows ever.
Right.
So I saw that whole thing.
Metallica was always an interesting one, though, because they were, like, obviously a metal band. Look at their name, and they had long hair, but they were always repping, like, Dead Kennedys, and, like, that's part of how I got into punk was from Metallica, one of the first bands I ever heard, covering all these punk songs.
Right.
Whether it was Misfits or whatever, So it's kind of crazy.
Did you see the video of Jerry Only saying that Cliff Burton was one of their biggest promoters of their band? Like, he's like giving Cliff Burton the basis of Metallica creds for Misfits being popular.
I heard about the Misfits through Metallica, and I'm born in 1981, so I'm a lot younger than you, I'm sure. But like, yeah, for me, hearing about Metallica around the early 90s, around when the Black Album came out. So, obviously Cliff had already passed, but like I saw all the photos and everything, and yeah, they were wearing Misfit shit, and yeah, Die My Darling, they covered that, right? So no, you're right. But I didn't realize. I've heard the stories about like the long hair thing. I didn't really realize that it was that much of a thing. Like you're gonna actually get your ass kicked.
I'll tell you a story that happened to me. So I wanted to get my spikes at this place on Melrose called Posers. It was a famous punk place.
I know it. In fact, I heard about it recently because I was at the Punk Rock Museum in Las Vegas. I was doing some tours.
Nice.
And Darby Crash, they have his little book of like phone numbers, his little Rolodex, and it says Poser, and it has the phone number. And at first, everybody's like, "Oh, he didn't like this guy," so he put him in his Rolodex as a poser. And then someone's like, "No, that was a store in L.A."
Yeah. So I went there with a couple of my punk friends because you couldn't go there as a metalhead alone. And I walk in, and like literally 60 seconds later, my friends are like, and they knew the owners. They're like, "We have to leave," and I'm like, "Why?" "I'll tell you, but we need to leave right now." And we walk outside and like, yeah, the owners came up to me, and because we're friends with them, they gave a little respect and let us take you out of there because they were going to kick the shit out of you because you had long hair.
Insane.
That was the world then.
Insane. That's so crazy, man. That's kind of awful, honestly.
It is. So I was also at the first ever crossover show with punk and metal for the first time.
Yeah.
It was in the Sun Valley Sportsman's Lodge. It was a fucking Elks Lodge with no security. First time metalheads and punks in the same building. You can imagine how crazy that show was. COC, when they were hardcore punk before Pepper. Suicidal before they crossed over.
Right.
I don't remember who the third punk band was. The metal bands were Possessed, Dark Angel, and this band Savage Grace. It was absolute fucking mayhem. One of the best memories of my life. Like,
crazy.
It was such a crazy show.
Do you know what year that was? Because that seems like a really important era.
I think it was about 83.
Yeah.
And I interviewed both Woody on separate interviews. Woody and Mike from COC. I brought up the story. I'm like, you probably don't remember this. And I started talking about it. That was like at an Elks Lodge, right? Yeah, that was our most epic show ever.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so cool to think you're a teenager going to this shit, but the band that was actually playing there thinks it's epic too.
Yeah, totally, man.
Right?
Totally. But I mean, when you look at the history of it, and I'm sure that they look back at it, and they're probably like shaking their heads too. Like, it almost doesn't feel real, I guess, right? Now.
No,
because everything now, it's like, we're so accepting of everything, It's like crazy. That's crazy.
It's like last year at Hellfest, I was at my first discharge show in my whole life because I couldn't go to one back then.
Yeah.
And then I interviewed them. We were talking about it, and even they were like, "Yeah, that was pretty fucked up back then. Like it was just stupid. Like why not be all? Now we're all big family. That's the way it should have always been, man. Unite and be one. We're all in that same boat.
So wild, all of it. So wild. Damn.
So what else you got going on after Riotfest?
Well, we fly tomorrow to Massachusetts to do a festival out there.
Nice.
Massachusetts is for lovers, so that'll be a lot of fun with some of our best friends. Like Bayside's not playing. Hawthorne Heights, Emory, Further Seems Forever. So a lot of bands that we came up with. It's really, really, really fun. And then after that, we're heading over to Asia and Australia. We're doing some shows with the Amity Affliction in Australia, which will be really cool because they're massive over there. And then that brings us into another U.S. tour, November, December, where we're doing our sixth album, This Is How the Wind Shifts, in full. So
I love it.
Celebrating 10 years of that.
How do people check out all the tour dates, the new album, buy your merch, all that good stuff?
Yeah, just go to the Google, I guess, Silverstein, and it's probably the best way. We have a website, silversteinmusic.com. I don't know. We're on social media. You'll find us.
Crazy.
These days, it's so easy to find everything, you know?
No doubt. It's not like the old days where you know how I got found out about bands? This will trip you out. There was this record store in the Valley called Oz Records. There was this store clerk there. Not even the manager. He was just a store clerk. His name was Brian Slagle. You know who that is?
Oh, I do know who that is. Metal Blade, yeah.
Right. The beginning of Metal Blade.
Yeah.
So we used to walk in there. I told him a few years ago we were hanging out. I'm like, that was so genius what you fucking did. Because we used to walk in there and he's like, hey, check this band out. Because you couldn't listen to shit like now. Okay. Hey, go to this band at the Troubadour. They're gonna kick ass. And that's how we found out about our music, from going to this record store and the dude owning Metal Blade, never knowing that it would be around today.
Right.
Saying, here, here, here. It was ingenious.
I love it, man. It's the people that care the most, the real fans that end up doing the most important stuff in the industry.
True
It's really
story.
how it works.
True story.
Yeah.
Craziest story ever in your musical journey. What is it?
My craziest story?
Yeah, yours.
Oh, my God, dude.
That's a hard question, right?
That's a really hard question. I don't even know where to start. I mean, a bat landed on my face one time while I was sleeping at a kid's house.
Wow. That's an Ozzy moment right there.
I didn't take a bite out of it, no. I got the fuck out of there. I went and slept in the van. That's a favorite. That's one of my favorite stories. But one time, too, we also were staying at a kid's house. This was in L.A., Los Angeles, Southern California. Maybe it was Orange County. And this guy's like, yeah, you can stay at my house. Cool. So we got there. Really nice house. And we found out very shortly after that it wasn't his house.
Whoa.
It was his neighbor's house, and they were out of town.
Whoa.
So we were breaking into his neighbor's house. Then he decided, he thought this would impress us. He's like, I got a cool trick. Like, all right. Pulled down his pants and lit his genitals on fire.
Holy fuck, what the kind of drugs was he on?
I think he was sober, too, at the time, which is wild. And you know what? What I remember most about that is the smell.
Oh.
Turns out fiery balls don't smell so good.
No.
Yeah, it was real weird. And then we didn't know what to do. A couple people went and slept in the van. I slept, in some child's room, I guess. And then at 7 o'clock, I hear a bang on the door. We got to go. They're coming back. Like, what? I didn't even know it was. At that time, I didn't even know we weren't supposed to be there. I thought it was his house.
That's so old school punk rock, though. Like, there were places in L.A. where all the homeless punks, there was a hotel that was abandoned called, it used to be, I guess when it was alive, Hotel Hello, but the O was gone, so it was Hotel Hell or Motel Hell.
Uh-huh.
And all the homeless punks lived there.
Yeah.
Like, even, the Go-Go's, when they were punk, when they first started, they were hardcore punk.
Yeah.
You know, and bands like that, all those bands, that's where they lived. It's this abandoned motel in Hollywood.
Yeah, man. No, we had a lot of those moments in the early days of we're not Are you kidding me? We don't have $40 for a motel.
Right.
Who's got a floor, you know? And that made for some of the best stories. Don't think I can go back to that, but
yeah, exactly. But
those are the times.
But that's how you get to here. You know, you have to go past that to get to here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any last words you want to leave with the listeners that we haven't covered already?
Not really. Stay safe. Take care of each other out there. You know, be good. Call your mom. Eat your vegetables. You know, all that good stuff. Yeah, I don't know if you're interested in what I do. Check out my band Silverstein, and also check out my podcast, Lead Singer Syndrome, where I talk to other lead singers. Probably very similar to your show, but just lead singer on lead singer. That's my premise. That's
pretty cool. I like that. Who was your favorite interview?
Oh, that's tough. I've done over 300.
Yeah,
so
it is a tough
I
question.
think I had Dennis Lixon from Refused. I saw him walking around here. He was a great interview. I had Dee Snider.
Nice.
He speaks his mind, that's for sure. But man, it's hard to pick a favorite. I appreciate every person that's done my show.
I hear you, because I did an interview last weekend that somebody, he decided to interview me, and he asked me that question. I'm like, I've done almost 3,000 interviews. I
3,000?
Can't even pick one, you know?
Damn.
And it's like, I can't even pick one. I don't know. I can tell you the worst, which I won't tell you, but I can't tell you the best.
My worst. This is a great story. You're gonna love this. So I have a recorder. You had a Tascam. I got a Zoom. So
look at this shit too. This shit's like a whole fucking DAW. And
I know. That's great. My Zoom is similar. But so I see that you hit the record button. Congratulations.
Right.
I was doing an interview one time, and this guy sucked, man. I was supposed to do 45 minutes with him. I was about 7 minutes in, and he's just stonewalling me, like, just not give me one-word responses. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this.
I think I know who that is.
So then I get through about 32 minutes, and I go, man, that was awful. I don't even want to release this. And I go to hit the stop button on my recorder, and I had never hit record. And I was like, wow. I was like, that's. I don't believe in God or anything, but hey, that is
intervention right there.
I was like, I don't have to release this ever. Thank God.
Oh,
you know, that made my decision easy, because that's the only time I ever forgot to hit the record button. Out of 3,000, you probably hit it probably forgotten once or twice.
No, you know what? Yes, but you know what was the worst? Because that's a big fear of mine. Like, if you notice, I keep looking to make sure it's still recorded.
Still red, yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I'm like paranoid about it. The worst was I was on a golf cart going to interview Rob Zombie, and while I was on the golf cart holding the Tascam, I hit a button or something, and it changed all the fucking settings. And I had like a 5-minute interview, like that's all I had, and I'm trying to figure out on the golf cart how to get back to where it's going to actually sound good. And it was like all distorted and shit. I'm like, oh, fuck me. But I got through
Bummer.
it.
Well, well, hey, Pipeman, thank you.
Thank you
Thanks
for
so
being
much.
on the Adventures of Pipeman.
Of course. Hey, everybody. It's Shane Told from the band Silverstein. You're listening to the Pipeman on W4CY.com radio.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.